on the one hand, I suggested just now that it may help if the government steps back from its messaging. On the other hand, it may also be useful for the government to step forward with messaging that suggests that, people exemplary, people who actually earn less can find happiness without a drop in quality of life. I mean, for example, you made a decision in your career, and that choice to become a cabinet minister meant that you had to suffer a significant cut in your salary. It is a choice that you made, and I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you regret that decision, unless I'm wrong. But those kind of messages, now I'm very serious, those messages coming from people whom you respect, whom society holds in high esteem, actually shifts values. I know of individuals from RI, for example, since you're a former reflection, that has had an impact on younger reflections who say, if he can do that, then maybe it's not that bad an option. Money may not have to remain the central consideration in my life. That's what I'm referring to. What's your comment?
Well, I generally don't answer questions by reference to myself. But, I'll put it this way. I did say that I believe that happiness has to come from inside. If happiness depends on money, or it depends on material benefits or positional goods, I think it's going to be difficult. Yeah. But at the same time, these material comforts and benefits and positional goods make life more comfortable. And therefore, I really don't want to make a value judgment on those sorts of things. Sure. I can speak for myself, I can't speak for the rest of society. I do think that in our education system, particularly the primary and secondary school education system, we can emphasize more on society and values, and not have a system that in the end, if you look at many education systems, Korea, China, Taiwan, elsewhere as well, if it becomes a situation where everyone is for himself, I think in the longer term, it damages society, it weakens society, and a degree of entitlement mentality grows because I achieved all of this on my own and therefore I'm entitled to all of this. So I certainly think, Sukyat has mentioned this a number of times, in our education system we can build a greater sense of the community. Mm-hmm. And in many ways I think that will help as we face these challenges, because we are going to need it a lot more in the next 20, 30 years. Yep. We are going to have to look after each other. We are going to have to look after far more older people. Younger people are going to have to spend a lot more time looking after their parents and others in the community. So we are going to need to develop that sense of community. And that I think, has got to come from the home primarily, but the education system can help. In the larger context, what can the government do in society in that context? There are conflicting messages. On the one hand, if you want to create economic vibrancy, you want to make sure that when your young people come out, they have jobs. And people expect in Singapore to move up. Then it can only be done if business in Singapore is competitive vis-a-vis today, not just the region but the world. How are you competitive vis-a-vis Shanghai, mm-hmm. Bangalore, and now the US? Because energy costs have gone down substantially. Gas shipped to Singapore is at $18. The same amount of gas in the US is $3. Look at the differential in energy cost. So these are real issues. Yep. So you have to compete, and at the same time, you have to make sure that people have that communitarian spirit. Mm-hmm. It's a challenge. We have to deal with that challenge, and we have to deal with that within very tight parameters. I'm not going to say it's easy, but I think we can do more in our education system.
Yeah. And
myself, you asked me, not the best example because, in your late 40s, you move into, you take a financial sacrifice, but a lot of people will say, but you have had several good years outside. And from a personal perspective, then if you have reached a certain stage of comfort, you give it up. I would say someone who chooses to give it up in their 30s, early 30s, gives up more. And one of the things I worry about is our system has always succeeded because we treat politics like we treat any other apprenticeship. Young people are brought into politics, into government, in their 30s. They are made junior ministers.
Mm-hmm.
They serve pretty much an apprenticeship for years and years and years, and they imbibe the values and the long-term thinking. And then, by the time they are in their 40s, they become full ministers, and they are in for about 10, 15 years. And there is the depth of experience and a future where they then put those policies in place. If we shift that, if our politics resembles that of other countries, then our governance will also resemble that of other countries.